Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time and no see, and by that I mean probably less than 24 hours, but welcome back to episode 3 recap of Bachelor in Paradise. This is Batch Bros Live. I am joined today by my normal co-host. I've got Josh Tasty Kebab with me, and I am, as always, your other co-host, the Han Factor. Welcome back, Josh. How are you?
Yeah, like you said, long time no see.
Yeah.
Still got those good juices flowing from yesterday. So let's do it again.
Yeah, they've been pumping out the content on Bachelor in Paradise, so we've had nothing but opportunities here to how you say potted up, if you will. So yes, I'm very cool. But yeah, so this was I think yes, Monday night's episode was a little bit more entertaining than tonight's episode, but I was thoroughly satisfied. I think this episode was more like, hey, shit's about to get dramatic. You better prepare yourself. And they're really kind of gearing us up for that. But yeah, just to kind of start out, the
I'd say through the first half of the episode, I was like kind of disappointed, at least the sense of the comparison to Monday night. But I felt in the second half of the episode, oh boy, did it kick up.
Oh, second half of the
Looking
episode.
at my notes, I didn't have too much to start, but then at the end, oh man, I was writing and writing and writing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the drama that I foresee happening kind of revolves around the second one-on-one date. Like, there's clearly a lot of unresolved things that are going to come up. The first one-on-one date was rather not too interesting, but yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that. But yeah, Josh, the opening of the episode, as always, people are wondering, it's like, okay, who's coming down these stairs, right? So who's going to be here? Who is going to be the next one to be joining Paradise? And there wasn't, and it still took a little bit for them to introduce the new cast members, if you will, for the episode. But before that even happened, I don't even remember what the context was, but I wrote down a quote from Tammy this episode was...
I'm on the same page.
Yeah,
what
was it? Because she said, when boys cry, it gives me energy. I think she just wants some drama.
She likes it when boys cry, because I think she's just talking about how this week the women have the roses, so they have the power, and she's ready to exert that power and make the men nervous and grovel and come crying.
So
just like worrying about whether they're gonna get a rose or not.
So you were like immediately like, I hope this ends poorly for Tammy because now I want to marry her, right? She wants to make me cry. This is my dream woman. Is that what's going on in your head? Or how far off am I?
You're connecting a few dots that aren't necessarily correlated.
Yeah, I think that I don't think I'm that far off. I think I've got you kind of figured out here, Josh, but that's okay.
You got me pegged.
Yeah. But yeah, so even before the first cast member comes down again, they know they're getting a new co-host, a guest co-host of the show tonight, and all of the cast members gather around a boom box that says "Play Me," and I immediately start having PTSD from the last season of The Bachelorette with Blake holding it up for Katie. I don't know about you, but I had enough of that season and enough of that nonsense. So seeing that again, I was a little nervous.
I might have been able to forget about it if it weren't for them bringing that back at the
after the final rose
live event.
Yeah. All right, audience, hold up your boom boxes. Rock on. No, it was horrible. I didn't like it even one bit. Yeah, and I was wondering what song they were gonna play because we had already been teased that Lance Bass was gonna be the new host, and they went with "It's Gonna Be Me." And we got a few snippets of the cast singing. I think Tajwan can sing, and I think nobody else could in the little snippets we got. So nobody else could really carry the tune, but then they introduce Lance Bass, the new co-host of Bachelor in Paradise, now that David Spade is gone. And Josh, what are your initial kind of thoughts of Lance, and do you like that casting call or no?
I'll have to say first, I wasn't like exactly sure what to expect. I mean, I knew that Lance has some personality. a little difficult for me on screen, honestly, because his eyes are just so piercing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just like
you
every
were
time I look
you
up
were
and
taken
stare into his
aback.
eyes, I feel kind of like violated. Like my soul needs to be covered up.
I couldn't focus because his eyes were so beautiful.
Oh no, they're gorgeous. It's just yeah. Early on, he's kind of just okay to me, but by the end of the episode, I was like, oh, I need more Lance Bass, please.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it. I think it's a good choice. I think it's as good as any. I'm really interested. We know that Lil Jon is going to be making an appearance. I don't know how that's gonna go, but I'm here for the ride. I'm ready to see it. But Lance, it's a casting decision that I liked, and I talked to you about this earlier too. That I like the idea of kind of having these rotating co-hosts with whoever they may find, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. I mean, this is really just kind of test the water and figure things out. But
yeah, and I think I put my guard down when he goes, "Who wants a mimosa?" I'm like, "Oh, I do.
I do."
Want a mimosa."
Hands up. I was two hands raised at that point too. I've got two hands, and neither of them have a mimosa in them, so I'm ready to rock and roll. But yeah, no, I thought he brought initially a good energy, and especially later in the episode, I also wanted to see more of what he could do as the host. But yeah, so just a little bit of foreshadowing that we see in the episode 2. We see that Marissa is talking, and she's possibly waiting for somebody, maybe not, like just kind of waiting to see how Paradise goes for her. And Josh, the next big thing that happens is, speak his name and he shall appear. Tell us who comes down those stairs.
Like they just, the guys from Katie's season are all talking about how there's just one person they really don't want to see show up, and that man's name is Thomas. So of course the producers have to make that happen.
Absolutely. So Thomas comes walking down the stairs, and it's so funny. Like Josh, I'm so surprised. I don't know, how do you feel about this, but these guys have such a they can't get him off of their mind. It's almost like they know he's going to be on the beach soon, and they're just waiting for him to walk down the stairs.
It's a big time hate boner.
Yeah, it's like, especially with, like, Trey mentions it at one point too, that he spent a considerable amount of time talking to Tajwan about Thomas, about somebody that's not even there.
Yeah, so part of me thinks that they weren't completely unprompted here. I'm sure that they had Wells or somebody else ask them about people they didn't want to see there, something to get the conversation going and kind of just buzzing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, most of these guys wouldn't just be sitting back gossiping about this guy that they don't like.
Well, it was like, they're pretty much saying that we hate him, all of them. Yeah. And by we, it seems that it's Aaron for sure, James for sure, Trey is in on that, and I guess Carl. I guess Carl has managed to make amends with the rest of the guys, because he seems to be in quite a few scenes with these guys too.
I think interpretation of the Carl situation is mostly just that they're tolerating Carl being there, and they know that if they try to, you can just tell him to his face that they don't like him, going to turn that into more drama and bullshit, and
that
so
they don't want to.
Okay, it's not worth it. If I can just ignore his presence, live with it, that's fine. He's not going to do anything probably if there's nothing fed to him.
Yeah, we're tolerating Carl, but we hate Thomas. So if he shows up, then fuck that guy. It's pretty much the vibe that I was getting.
I think they know that Thomas is more likely to actively cause something as opposed to, Carl's not going to do anything on his own so much. It's there's got to be fuel, there's got to be tools for him to use. Get everything kicked up.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Thomas hits the beach, though, it's you feel this,
daggers.
Yeah, this audible shuddering. Oh my god, I have so much. I think your words were hate boner, and I think that's pretty accurate. Where these people just
Thank you.
hate.
I'm very eloquent.
Yeah, I know that these people just have a visceral hate for this guy, whether it be deserved or not. I mean, that's for you to decide. But I just thought it was odd. You know, if I'm on this beach and I'm surrounded by all these beautiful women, and none of them are interested in me, certainly, but that's for another discussion. But I don't think
so
I would
to
be.
go back to the whole root of the Thomas drama here. Like, he came in the show, kind of got outed as quote unquote being there for the wrong reasons, saying that he hoped that
He could be the Bachelor.
Considered for the Bachelor if things didn't work out with the Bachelorette with Katie.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I'm still sitting in the same position as I was before, where it's kind of like, okay, you know, that's something taboo that you don't directly say. So I mean, tisk to him for saying that. Come on, like, if you're going onto reality TV, there's not a direct money prize. You're there for like the secondary prize of fame and stuff.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing
Yeah,
is completely blown
okay.
out of proportion.
Definitely, you go on the Bachelorette, and like, you know, you give it a good college try, but like, odds are pretty low that you're actually ever going to win anyway. So yeah, you might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, she's gonna pick one guy. She's gonna pick one guy out of 30, and so I mean, awesome if you get to be that one guy. But if not, then yeah, I mean, there has to be something that, whether it be the experience, but to say, you know, I didn't jump into Katie's season before Thomas was already gone by the time I was there, but I do want to say that I think if you're on the show, just to say that you never even have a passing thought of potentially becoming the Bachelor or becoming, like, gaining a secondary gain from this in any way is ridiculous. So the fact that they're so upset about this guy, I think, is a little hypocritical, at least, you know, or they're not being completely honest with themselves.
I mean, like, that was the main thing for him too, I guess. You know, there are other accounts of him like lying and being two-faced and stuff. I'm sure, yeah, you don't want to deal with, but that's definitely not anything that makes him such a villain.
Yeah.
As they're
he certainly seems arrogant, and I think that is probably, when you mix that with like a secondary gain with arrogance, it gets a little bit messy because, like I said, even if I, like, not that the opportunity would ever present itself, but if I was on one of these shows and I've thought at some point, it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be cool to be the Bachelor, but they ain't fucking picking me. Like, come on. like I'm gonna have a good time, see what happens, make some friends, and God, I mean,
enjoy the free drinks.
Enjoy the ride and enjoy the experience. Isn't that not what we're here for? And then, I mean, hopefully find love. You know, I'm a hopeless romantic, so if that opportunity presented itself too, then that'd be great. But realistically, not as much of an option. So, but yeah. But anyway, so Thomas comes down the stairs, Josh, and of course he gets a date card. And the girls that I see him talking to, I see him talk to Abigail, to Tajwan, to Mari, to Marissa, and then finally to Serena. And in every single one of those conversations, this comes up. He goes, "Oh, I'm very tall. You need to warn me so I don't hit my head on this." So I wonder if that's just like kind of his cheeky opener, like, "Oh, hey, did you notice how tall I am?" or something like that. But I don't know.
I mean, a lot of women are really into that. So I mean,
it's
sure
a physical attribute. People can see it.
We'll play it up.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like they.
I mean, especially
everybody can see how tall he is.
As he says,
yeah.
Like, that's not just like, oh yeah, you're kind of tall, huh? It's like, oh yeah, you're taller than 99% of the population.
Yeah, he's a big guy. That's fine. I'm glad that he has the self-awareness to, I guess, recognize that. I don't know, but it is kind of ridiculous. Like, why is this guy sitting here talking about how tall he is repeatedly? Like, he wants you to know. He goes, "I'm 6'6", right?" Like, all right, thank you, sir. I can see you. I can see that you are an imposing man. But yeah, and ultimately he asks Serena on a date, right? And I wasn't surprised per se. Like, I think that she seems like a very, like, fun, nice, pretty, intelligent, like, she seems to be the full package. I wouldn't be surprised if more guys that hit the beach try to talk to her as time goes on. So, I don't know. Were you surprised? Did you have a lot of faith in this date?
So, I guess I'd say maybe a little bit surprised. Yeah, Serena is, like, the full package as far as I can tell, but also maybe, not entirely sure how fully interested in settling down Thomas is, especially right off the bat here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, feels like Serena is like a kind of in-game type of girl.
Mm-hmm.
So, if he's going for it right away, I mean, okay, maybe that is showing his actual intentions here. But, yeah, I really didn't think at the time that they were going to hit it off the best. But, like, they're kind of different levels of maturity, maybe. With that being said, at first Serena was showing a lot of interest in at least getting the chance to hang out and make out with this really hot guy.
I mean, she said kind of when Thomas hits the beach too. A lot of the women are just like, "Wow, this guy's hot," and she is even one of them.
That's basically all you heard for first 5 minutes of it being on. Whenever it went to the women.
Yeah, and that one thing is that even
Tammy
Serena
said all the girls want bad boys.
All right,
that Demi?
No, I think Tammy said that. So you're gonna have to work on your act, Josh.
Yeah.
So
Gonna have to work on it.
You're gonna have to brush up on the bad boy persona.
Be talking.
Yeah, you need to be less of a. Do you watch JoJo's? Have you seen JoJo's? This is gonna cross an interesting path on the podcast. Yeah, be more of a Jotaro, be less of a Jonathan.
Going on a tangent.
But in it,
All
yeah,
right, I'll try to channel my inner.
Yeah,
Jotaro
be Jotaro. Yeah. But yeah, so he asked Serena, and she was
Just
like,
lost like 20 viewers with that comment.
There's no way. No, they're gonna stick around. We're in a weird. Trust me, like you and I are in a weird corner of the internet that I feel like they're like 5 or 6 people that are super vibing with this, that have this bizarre crossover of interests, and we're here to supply the entertainment. But yeah, anyway, Serena, I'm not gonna be upset if I make out with him, I think is what more or less she said. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it, right? Yeah. So, but and we saw a little kissing and smooching going on later, but we'll kind of, I think, jump into the Serena and Thomas date here in a minute.
I had one other comment before.
Yeah.
Like, to talk, I guess, maybe, like, the gamesmanship and strategy
of A Bachelor in Paradise?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I'll tell you my thoughts and then let you kind of respond and see if you agree or disagree. I think Thomas grabbed Abigail at first, not really being interested so much.
It didn't seem like it. I agree.
Be compatible. I think he tried to pick out a girl first off that he knew he wasn't interested in, and then also was friendly enough where she would kind of have a relationship with the other girls on the beach. To be able to, like, talk to her, get her insights, figure out what's going on, and see where he could best make his move.
Yeah, I think he may as well have just asked her.
Scouting hole on her.
I don't think you're wrong. I think he may as well have just asked her, who should I ask out on a date, right?
Yeah.
You know?
That was the feeling I got. And I mean, honestly, like, it's a good strategy. Like, get friendly with somebody and figure out what you've missed so far.
Well, who does he know on the beach, too? Nobody, right? Except for the guys from his season, and they don't like him, so he's got to feel certain.
Right. So
he's certainly isolated.
Able to talk to anybody else.
Yeah, he's certainly isolated to a certain extent. So, yeah, no, I think you're it seemed that way to me too. Whether he was interested in her or not, I think we're making some assumptions there. But the conversation didn't seem to reveal a whole lot of chemistry. I'll say that much. And the conversation was just like, oh, you know, who's vibing with who? Like, kind of give me a heads up of like who because he probably doesn't want to look stupid either and ask somebody out who's absolutely not, you know. So, but I don't think anybody would have said no either.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why would you at that point?
At this point, I don't think anybody would.
This is the second week. Like, just someone asks you on a date, go for it.
Yep.
You got time before you need to worry about rings.
Yep. This is a 4-week adventure, so we'll see how long before people are like wifed and husbanded up, but we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, before we kind of get into Serena and Thomas as well, their actual date, we got a glimpse of Karate Carl, is what I'll call him. Man, what a weirdo. Carl just gives me weird vibes. I don't know what else to say. I don't think even what he was doing was inherently that weird, right? Like, he's doing something to preoccupy himself that he enjoys on the beach. Like, I'm not going to make fun of the guy for that, but it's just, there's something about him that is kind of off-putting. To me, at least.
It's doing that combined with the personality, because really, like, he's just shadow boxing, and, I mean, the rest of it was, like, more interesting karate. I guess. But, like, I mean, yeah, other guys, girls, they work out on the beach. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, you got to stay busy, especially if you don't feel like talking to everybody constantly.
Yeah. Now, I don't have any karate
no
experience.
Shame in it, but with his personality, definitely kind of like, all right, Carl.
Yeah. And I have no karate experience, so I can't comment on whether that was actually karate or not. Like, the extent, in my mind, I was just having SpongeBob and Patrick and Sandy sparring may have been what I was watching on my television screen, albeit I thought that might be a little bit more entertaining. But, yeah, Carl's just, think Kirst. Carl's just weird. Everything he does is weird to me. So, I'm not a fan, and, they really haven't shown much of him other than that this episode. But, yeah, I mean, Josh, if you don't have any more comments, let's talk about Thomas and Serena's date, right?
So I guess another thing that happened before the date, too, was that Serena goes and kind of talks to Joe about what's going on, too, being like, hey, I'm going to take this date.
Yeah.
So, like, I was a little concerned about Serena, the way she kind of jumped into it so quickly, but at the same time, confidence that I had maybe lost from her being so fast to excited to go on this date, kind of like I built it back up after her going and talking to Joe.
Well, I think, you know, and like I said too, who's going to say no at this point to a date? I don't think really. Yeah. I don't think her head is as tall as his lower back. Who are we talking about?
You know, I think that can be said for just about all the women.
But I think I think that Joe and Serena had a conversation before she went on a date with Thomas, and it seemed Serena and Thomas. Oh, okay. Curse, I don't know if you saw, but Thomas is very tall, so I don't know if that's quite true. But
he's got to watch his head.
Yeah, he's got to watch his head when he's walking around, because his giant ego is also in the way. But yeah, so the oh shoot, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I thought the Joe and Serena conversation was handled well, right? Like, hey, I'm going on this date, I just want you to know, I hope that you're okay with it. And he was like, well, not really, but I hope you have a horrible time, jokingly of course, but half
She's
joking.
Apparently pulled out that line before with Kendall too.
Oh really? Okay, I think I would have said the same thing. So I'm not gonna wish you well.
I mean, he said it in a like non-malicious way too. So I'm like, yeah, all right, you go, Joe. That's a fun thing to pull out.
Yeah.
To like light, but make sure your feelings are still known.
Yeah, and then we get to Thomas and Serena's date. We've talked about that here. Kirsten, I'll circle back to that question here in a minute because we've talked about that quite a bit in the previous episodes too. But yeah, anyway, Thomas and Serena, they get to go essentially inner tubing, which is fun. I enjoyed that. That's something that once again another fun date that I would have loved to gone on if I was ever fortunate enough to be in this type of position. It just seems like
Super
a fun thing.
Yeah, super fun. A little similar to just doing like the wave runners and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Skiing that just did, but I know, it's still pandemic and everything, and probably pretty isolated in a bubble.
I think that they are
options.
Yeah, I think that they're being careful in what they let them do because of the way that the world is currently. But certainly, I think from my overall impression of Thomas and Serena's date is that we got more content of watching Joe mope around the beach alone again than we ever did actually watching Thomas and Serena have any sort of meaningful connection or talking. I don't know. Do you think that's a fair statement to make or no?
In terms of them like actually talking, sure.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I mean,
but
we saw.
I mean, they definitely had physical chemistry.
Sure.
Going on there, where they were all over each other, and I think right before it cut to commercial, at one point, Thomas was carrying Serena. So, I mean, you could tell. Yes, there's definitely at least a degree of sexual tension there.
Sure. I don't think it goes beyond that.
Follow up the inner tubing and stuff with a picnic where Serena finally gets to ask some questions. They get to have a real conversation too. So Thomas is kind of forced to vouch for himself, say what's going on.
I mean, once again, though, it's like they spend all this quality time together talking about other people and why he's not liked. And that's just a complete waste of time, right? Like, how are you going to build any sort of meaningful connection with somebody when you spend most of it just saying things like, I mean, it probably wasn't great choice of words to be like, Trey is emotionally weak. And like, that you can't edit that.
Like, he said that. For him, like a bigger brother. Big brother, yeah.
That seemed a little bit
very patronizing.
It did after he said that he was emotionally weak. So I didn't feel that way initially, but then when he was like, "Oh, I need to watch after him because he's an emotional child that he can't defend for himself," I'm like, "What the fuck, man? Come on!"
Like I felt like he was trying to play himself as endearing, but just
it was
face first.
Yeah.
Do it like, oh man, it was tough.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been so easy there just to say, some drama happened in Katie's season. These guys didn't like me, but I'm here to like spend time with you, hang out with you. Like, we can talk about it more later if you want, but right now I want to enjoy our date, get to know each other better.
Yeah, and that would have been fine because at the end of the date, Serena essentially says, "Hey, I'm not really interested in this drama," which seems like a little bit of a cop-out. I think she would have just been better off saying, "Hey, like, I feel like I have a better connection with Joe, and I'm not interested in dating you anymore." That would have been sufficient.
We were saying, yeah, like, it's early, so go on a date with whoever at this point. But she's also aware enough that there was drama involved, where if it was entirely just like, oh, I didn't want to be a part of the drama, she could just be like, I'm good. Somebody else for this date.
Yeah, so it did not seem like a great date to me overall, and they made out a little bit, but who really cares? So Kirsten brought up something in the chat. She goes, Joe and Serena's age difference, do you think that'll become an issue at some point? So I know that we've kind of touched on this before, Josh, but now that you've seen a little bit more of Joe and Serena, do you think that they are going to have issues with their age gap, if you will, or whether this is completely normal?
I mean, I think that's still kind of my biggest detractor from the relationship, is that I'm not sure how things will actually work when they leave Paradise.
Okay, sure.
Like, oh, Joe's much more settled in, while Serena's still wanting to live like a 23-year-old.
Yeah. And I think that my biggest question is more not necessarily the age being an issue, but where they currently live, right? So it's currently Serena lives in Toronto. Joe's in Chicago, which is closer than his previous relationship. But from all that we can tell, the last relationship he was in for 2 years with Kendall ended because of more or less, I'm going to live here the rest of my life. Well, I'm going to live here the rest of my life. Well, we should go separate ways then. They were not willing to compromise on a location and for the good of their relationship. So if that's going to be more of an issue moving forward, then I'd be more concerned about that, especially with travel being as difficult as it is with the way the world is right now, right? Like, I think that there's something to be said that they probably are a little bit in different, sections of their life, right? With what they do and who they are, but I'm not as worried about the age as I am about the distance they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, but I think that 12 years is a lot, but Mari and Kenny I also have a lot of faith in, and they're like, 15 years different? So...
So,
yeah.
I guess, how would you compare Kendall with Serena in terms of personality?
I didn't ever really watch a lot of Kendall.
I don't really have like the basis of Kendall to kind of look at them and, well, yeah, okay. Kendall didn't want to move, but she was way different in terms of how she acted than Serena, so
yeah,
maybe Serena would be more than happy to live in Chicago.
Well,
if Joe refused to move from there.
That's true too. That I'll make mention is that we have seen that Kendall will show up on the beach at some point. So I think we'll get a better sense of what her personality was. But I don't really know her or have seen much of her character. I don't know any of these people, of course, but I don't know what type of perception or opinion the majority of people even have about Kendall, because I know so little about her. So is she like Serena? I don't know, really. So I would say that they probably have some similar things for him to be so attracted to both of them at one point in time, right? But whether that mean that they're vastly different or very similar, I just don't know the answer to that question at the moment. So, but yeah.
Overall, I think, having that kind of age gap doesn't make things any easier. It's definitely gonna come down a lot more to who the people are, or if they're gonna find success or not. But yeah, with Joe and Serena specifically, like, I kind of need to wait and see more for me personally. I know when we did our confidence ratings in the relationships yesterday,
I think I'm much more confident in their relationship than you are.
I gave him a 6 and you gave him 8.5.
Yeah, I give them an 8.5 and you gave him a 6. So
based on how the episode went, I'd say, I'd probably move mine up a bit. I don't know if you're gonna raise yours anymore. That's where I stood.
I didn't rate the couples off the top of my head because we've got new people, and I kind of want to do that at rose ceremonies. So
yeah, that's fine. I'm just wondering if you feel more confident than you did.
I think that they're still in the top half of my couples that I have faith in, like, actually moving forward pretty easily. Like,
they were your number 1 last week.
Were they? Let me look. Let me look. Well, damn, you're right. I've got Joe and Serena, and then Ivan and Jasenia as the couples that I have the most confidence in.
Pretty sure number 1 is top half.
Yeah, but the best score I gave anybody was an 8.5, right?
Right. No, there's still room for improvement.
Like, there were zeros on the board, Josh. There were people I gave zeros to. Like, I am so confident that their relationship will not last that I gave them a fucking 0. Carl and Deandra. I will say their name again. So, but yeah, I mean, and that was kind of the end of the date, right? Like, I don't have a whole lot else to add about the Thomas Serena date. Very not interesting. So, no connection at all.
I agree. Nothing really there. So let's move on.
Yeah. So the next kind of topic that I want to move on to is the next person on the beach, because that's kind of the next big thing that happens is that we get Riley from Tayshia's. Well, I guess Was he there when Claire was there too, or no? Or did he come on with?
He was there for Claire as well.
Okay, so Claire and
I believe Noah's the only person that's around
that exclusively dated Tayshia.
Late.
Okay. Yeah. So we have Riley from Claire and Tayshia's season of The Bachelorette. On the beach, looking yoked as hell. Like, this man's arms are bigger than my head, and I've got a big-ass head. So...
Bad that I could not remember Riley's name yesterday, because I really liked Riley. He was, very soft-spoken in, Tayshia's and Claire's season.
Yeah.
Coming out a little more brash here, but...
Oh, he came in guns a-blazing with confidence, right? Whether it is misplaced or not, it was there. So.
Setting, but yeah, I like him. I think he's overall a pretty good person from what I've seen.
Yep, and I think that as soon as Riley hits the beach, we get a couple clips of Tajwan, who even says herself, she goes, I don't even know how to act. Like, she said repeatedly. Yeah, she said repeatedly, if there was somebody that I was waiting for to show up to this beach, it would be Riley. And lo and behold...
she basically flat out said he was the reason that she came at all, just in the chance that she could meet him.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Like, of all the people that you could possibly meet, you have one person that you're holding out for. I think that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a free vacation either way, but it's... I don't know. It's kind of rolling the dice, right? Like, that's a lot of weeks to spend on a beach and end up disappointed, I suppose. So...
Disappointing somebody else, too.
Yep, I think so, too. But we'll kind of see. But yeah, so he talks to a lot of the girls on the beach. Obviously, Riley gets a date card, too. He gets the decision of who he's going to take. Talks to Marissa, Tammy, Deandra, Mari, Natasha, and Taj. Those were all the girls that we saw him talking to. And I think from what we saw, Taj was pretty much like, pick me, please. And we saw kind of a genuine, like, kind of cute flirting with him and Marissa. She tells him that she's never been on, like, a real date before, which I don't know how that's the case, right? But...
She admits later that she's rejected some. I'm going to question this, too. I brought this up.
How old is she?
In the episode 2. I think she's 25.
Yeah, but
she. Entirely sure on this one.
To be fair, she's from Montana, which I could imagine is just a vast wasteland of, like, peopleless land. Not to offend our friends from Montana, but I mean, maybe that is realistic to say, hey, I've never been on a date before. But
maybe full of a bunch of guys that aren't exactly her type.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But she goes and talks later about how she's gone and done, like, putt-putt or something.
Yeah.
Like other things, but she hasn't had a
quote-unquote
fancy dinner.
Yeah. And
so
Kirsten said this too.
So
what's a real date?
Walking that back already.
Yeah. I'm interested to, like...
I think there are ways to have fun and get to know somebody without it being an expensive, fancy dinner. So I think she's got to lower her standard there a little bit.
Yeah. I'm really curious too. It's like, what does she mean by a real date? Like, to me, I'd be like, yeah, putt-putt's fun. Like, hell yeah, putt-putt.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good date, but it's, I'm not expecting jet skis, right? So, and I'm trying to stay focused because Odin is all over me today. So, he's in need of attention. My best friend, my cat. But, I'm going to put you back up here again. So, but, yeah, so, he eventually asks Marissa, spoiler alert, right? And she immediately agrees to go, like, no hesitation. It almost seems to me that Conor's going to be an afterthought immediately at this point. Like...
Oh, yeah. From her opening statements in this episode to...
Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing going on.
It's clear that Conor is way more into her than she ever was into him.
Yeah.
And looking back at our ratings for them... I gave them a 5. You gave them a 6.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give them a 0.
At this point, it's feeling like it's done. Yeah, down to a 0 now.
It's done, though.
At that time, we were definitely overinflating it.
Yeah, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. It's very over at this point. So, but Yeah. So we and before we kind of get into the Riley and Marissa date, you know, we do get some important scenes that I'd like to talk about. There's one thing that happens that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So who from Bachelor Nation would you pair with Conor? Okay, I'll have to think about that before I say that. But there is one scene
specific to who's on the show now.
I think just anyone in Bachelor Nation. But Kirsten, you feel free to correct that if you wish. But yeah, I want to talk about a scene where we get Trey, Aaron, and James talking around, and they're pretty much anyone in Bachelor Nation. Okay, but Josh, there's something that James said where he's like, we need to make sure that the women know that Thomas is bad, otherwise he's gonna win them all over, and it's gonna be game over. And my brain about exploded with that one, because I was like, do you really think that none of these women have like a free thought in their head, that they can't form their own opinions about somebody? I think that's such misplaced enthusiasm is what I would call that, at least. You know, like, you are spending so much of your mental fortitude thinking about how to shit talk this guy than actually trying to build a relationship. Like, you're going to ruin your time on the beach.
Yeah.
Do you know what scene I'm talking about? Do you remember that?
I think I do. I have a vague memory of it. I didn't write anything down for that part. You know, like, I kind of get it, you know, like, when somebody's a snake and manipulative and stuff, and, like, they know how to put on the charm, immediately, yeah, it can be an issue, but in the long run, still trust somebody else to gear it out. Then, like, you know, if they're not, then I'm also need to start questioning, like, why I was interested in that person, and like the things that they're seeing, question their judgment. I mean, yeah, I actually try to give most of them the benefit of the doubt, especially at the point now too where everybody has heard that
Thomas is a snake.
He has a bad rap.
Yeah, he's a horrible person. Like, fuck Thomas, right?
It's one thing with a completely fresh slate to be like, I've got to make sure people like know so they don't just get run over by him later. But yeah, now that everybody knows, like,
give it up.
Chill out.
Give it up. That we've seen enough. So it's enough. But yeah,
it's not the direction I thought you're going in when you said something rubbed you the wrong way.
Oh, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way that he was just like, if we don't actively seek to destroy Thomas, then he's going to manipulate all these women into loving him and blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, they can figure it out. Come on. Give these people some credit. Like they're either going to like him or not. And, like, just forget it. Don't let this person live rent-free in your mind so much. That's just all that's going in my... Like, Thomas has a fucking penthouse apartment in your mind that he is paying no rent on. You need to get over it. So, but yeah, I mean, and kind of the next big thing that happens is the Thomas, Trey, James, Aaron, Carl shindig, right?
Oh my gosh, and I was so uncomfortable with that. Like, of course, yeah. Carl is the one to go and grab him, because I don't think any of the other guys had
any intention of talking to him even. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, Kirsten, too. It's like I'm reading this, I'm seeing it's like Serena said she's gonna form her own opinions. It's like, yes, come on, like, isn't that what everybody should do? For the most part, about everyone, right? Like, there are very few exceptions to that rule, I think. Like, you should probably just at least try to figure out some things about people beforehand, but I mean, come on. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of like we need to be the ones to ruin his chance of anything on the beach before he even gets there. Like, I think that Thomas is kind of an arrogant tool. Like, I think he gives those vibes off. I think I can confidently say that. However, he is still, like, get over it. You know? That's just kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, And I think
it's coming from all the insecurities they have.
yeah, but Thomas comes in and he just says, "I'm sorry." He goes, "I'm sorry, I was an asshole." You know, he goes, "I'm sorry to, I'm sorry to you, Trey. I'm sorry to you, Aaron. I'm sorry to you, James," and gave very specific like reasons what he was apologizing for. I don't think he apologized to Carl. I think he said, "Carl, why are you here?" But he, it's like that scene in Step Brothers when his brother is like leans over his shoulder and it's just Carl there. Like, why are you here? Like during the job interview. So I thought the apology seemed sincere. I don't know. Do you or no?
No, maybe. Obviously, and this gets brought up later. He like was kind of just saying some weird things about Trey.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, these other guys are far from guilt-free in my mind, too. But it still just kind of felt like he's trying to play it. I don't know. Maybe like he is like legitimately just trying to lay down the swords, and he's kind of just an idiot with it too. So he can have a legit shot at whatever his goals are here, and he doesn't have to worry about like anyone else sabotaging him, basically. But yeah, it felt a bit calculated. I think part of it.
See, you have no trust in Thomas.
And calculated at the same time.
Yeah, you have no trust in Thomas, is what it's sounding like. So I I think that you're just like, no, this seems like there's an ulterior gain here. Like it's not necessarily like, wow, I messed up, I need to apologize for this. So
to put it this way, I don't think he's reaching out to DM them and apologize if they're not on the show together.
Okay, sure. So he's not trying to apologize to them if they're not stuck in a room together for days on end for the foreseeable future. So okay.
Well, we're gonna be around each other. I did some shitty things.
Yeah.
So
well, obviously,
let's try to clear the air.
The apology
didn't
palatable
for us as possible.
Yeah, and Josh, the apology didn't last very long either, kind of like you said, because not even 5 minutes later, Serena's telling person X, who tells person Y, who tells person Z, about kind of the weird things he was saying about Trey, and of course it gets back to Trey, and just kind of talk me through the Trey and...
It was nice to see Taj have Trey's back there, too.
Yeah.
After, like, a weird situation we saw with her and Riley earlier.
So talk me through the Trey and Thomas. I wouldn't even call it a throwdown because it was only a couple minutes long.
Oh yeah, I mean Trey just goes and grabs Thomas as he's talking to Wells, like, hey, we need to have a conversation. Like we just talked. Trey just lays it all out for him, and doesn't even really give Thomas the chance to tort or deny it, because I mean, I don't think any possibility that somebody would just be making this up at this point. And I mean, yeah, obviously with everything that Trey had coming into this, with his preconceptions of Thomas, he really has no reason to like trust him here and try to hear him out. Like, yeah, Thomas doesn't really even deserve the shot at the defense. Just like that was just some blatant disrespect.
Yeah,
and from everything that I've seen, like kind of made up. I don't feel like Trey's this like
emotionally feeble, feeble human being or anything.
Like he's a grown up and seems for the most part pretty level-headed. So.
Yeah, I would come back and be like, don't treat me like I'm a child. Like, no. So yeah, I mean, it was just like Trey was like, listen, like, thanks for the apology earlier, but no thanks because I heard you were talking shit about me. Don't talk to me. See you never, bye. You know, that's kind of what I got from that. So,
Because it's either, like, even if what he said to Serena before wasn't to be, like, insulting or anything, he wasn't trying to, like, stir up drama. It's still then like, okay, well, I guess you think so lowly of me here, so Why do I want to be friends with you?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? It's just a very awkward thing to say about somebody, you know? Like, you're not, you're certainly not even acquaintances at that point if you're talking about someone like that. But yeah, and that's kind of their fight, and I don't really have a whole lot else to add. The next big thing, Josh, is the Riley and Marissa date. And even before we get to the date, Conor tries to talk to Marissa just briefly, and I would say it doesn't really go that well. Right?
Yeah, it was rough to watch.
Yeah, it was kind of cringy, because Jasenia's sitting there talking to Conor and goes, "Hey, you should like tell her that how good she looks and that just that you'll be waiting for her and all these like trying to be encouraging to him." And he goes up there and
Jasenia was being great there.
I thought so too. I thought that was very like nice and supportive. But I just watched Conor swing the bat 3 times and completely strike out too, with someone that he earlier had, I thought, a really good connection with. So it didn't go well. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so they also show Conor kind of sitting and talking about the situation, and I think there's a mix of realism in there, but I think there's a good bit of denial too. Also, I mean, like, it's early, and also we just saw one one-on-one fail. What are the odds that there's going to be 2 of them back to back?
No, we haven't talked about Brendan yet.
Pretty low.
Yeah, I think that Conor.
I'm talking about Serena and Thomas.
Yeah.
One-on-one fail.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this one-on-one, like, so they go on the one-on-one, and Lance is there, of course, and does a great job, but I don't know what the producers were, like, thinking for this. Like, we're gonna make the worst date idea possible, and hopefully it works out. I thought to myself, watching this, I was like, how is this fun? So,
playing truth or drink, right?
Yeah, truth or eat pig tongue, or cow tongue. Yeah, I thought to myself, if this date goes well, I guess, then they're meant to be, right? Like, if you have fun on this, then, like, how did things go poorly? Yeah, I wish I had written down some of the questions, Josh, because I was going to ask you them on stream, but I know that we can't see you drinking or eating anything disgusting at the moment, and I forgot to write them down. But I just thought...
I thought about writing some of them down,
yeah.
but, it got to the point where, with one of the questions, this is where it kind of hit me, where I felt some kind of disgust.
The cringe about how many people have you slept with?
Yeah, it's like,
that was
really
cringy.
Asking that?
Yeah.
Can we move on from this being a big deal? Like, let that be that person's thing to tell you if they want to.
Yeah.
There's nothing to, like, there's no importance to that.
That seemed like a cultural gap to me, right?
You're gonna
because
vibe or you're not.
Yeah, that seemed like something that you did 15, 20 years ago that is very, like, I don't know, it was cringy for me to watch this time. So I did not like that they asked that question either. Most of the other questions were fine, but once again, I was like, this date sucks. Like, the concept of it, like, they are doing well together, but I mean, those, it just, why do we have to eat a pig tongue or intestine or whatever? Like, why do we have to do that? Why can't we just have fun and get to know each other?
Yeah, so I remember one of the other questions being, like, most embarrassing story or something, and they both decided to eat on that one, too. Which I guess, but I feel like you could pull something out that, like, isn't so revealing, but still funny to look back on. Like, someone you're trying to flirt with. So, like, yeah, that was a better question. I don't think I remembered the other ones really outside of that either.
No, how many times do you
oh yeah. We had that one.
Play with yourself in a...
I think that's a newer wave question that probably wasn't being played 20 years ago.
No, I think that was an updated version. It felt like a weird game show. I mean, I completely agree. But they, once again, I mean, they were vibing with it. They seemed to like each other regardless of what was going on there. They seemed to have a lot in common. But even after they got done eating the tongue, they then started using their own with each other. And we get a great quote from Lance Bass during that scene where he's just like, do I just continue to stare at them or look away? Or does it even matter? You know, I'm just sitting here watching these two humans make out without a care in the world, and I don't even know where my eyes should go, right?
So, honestly, this is where I was all in on Lance Bass.
Yeah, that...
Like, you rock, dude.
Yeah.
I want to see more of this.
With his piercing eyes, like, could you imagine? Like, how do you perform under that type of pressure when you have Lance Bass staring at you with his eyeballs? So...
that performance anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd be like, Lance, I'm gonna need you to look away, please, sir. I'm in the middle of something right now. Yeah. So, there's a few cutaways, and before we kind of get to the meat of the conversation that they had and kind of what your thoughts are, Conor's playing his ukulele, very sad boy, and they show a scene of like Wells kind of tearing up at the bar. Do you think that was edited in, or do you think he was generally like crying about something at that very moment, like listening to Conor's music?
It had to be edited.
It had to be, right?
At the same time, I was legitimately going to ask you, were you crying too?
No. I was not crying. I felt bad for Conor. I really want Conor to succeed. I've said this on multiple times that he is somebody that I like a lot on the show, and it upsets me that it looks like love is not going to work out for him again. Because the next line I wrote down too was Conor has no shot. None. As if you didn't already know that. I think that it's absolutely none. But yeah, I don't think that Wells was crying. I think that might be a scene for later. Like, this might come up again. I don't think he was that sad about Conor's song. So, that's just my opinion.
That they were probably just letting Wells, like, put together shots and stuff for his acting career.
Hey.
He just, like, he was doing a scene where he was crying, and they're like, oh, that'd be good to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't you dare bring Wells into this in a negative light, though. He's great. We must protect him. So we get to kind of the actual, I guess, dinner portion of Marissa and Riley's date, where they're kind of sitting there and talking, and the themes of their conversation that they have kind of revolve around, I want a big family. I want there to be, like, I want to essentially make a basketball team, and I think Marissa said at one point, she goes, I want the other parents to be scared of my kids when they're coming by because they know that they're the best and you know, they're working hard yada, yada, yada. And they seem to want a lot of the same things. They seem to just have a genuine connection. I do like Riley and Marissa
also
together. They seem very what?
Very horny.
They seem very horny, and I do like them together. I think that their relationship has a lot of potential. I'm just kind of upset that it's at the expense of Conor.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to me like they clicked very well, and even just beyond the physical attraction, like a lot of their goals really align, and they'll figure it out. Right? Get to confidence interval later when we do the rose ceremony. But like right now, I'm feeling pretty good about them. I'd say they're definitely towards the top. I
think unless there's another woman that comes down the stairs, that Conor will probably go home at the next rose ceremony. So, but yeah, so, and that's kind of their date, right? And then they come back and they go to, I think the producers are insinuating Demi's Boom Boom Room, and that's kind of the end of that. Right? Like, that's the end of the storyline, where we just see that they just kind of sneak back into paradise and appear to spend the night together. and Conor remains a sad boy.
Very sad boy.
Yeah. So, other fun things that kind of happened this episode that I want to touch with you on is Tajwan is kind of upset that Riley took Marissa out, and she's questioning her relationship with Trey, and she's giving an excellent one-on-one interview with the producer, and the crab shows up again, and she starts freaking out. And I just want to say, this producer did her dirty by when she was like, "Can the crabs jump?" And the producer goes, "Yes." What a monster of a human being. That is all that I have to say about that. I was like, who would... Crabs can't jump. I don't think, right? Like, they
all
can't.
For the content.
All for the content. And then we get another scene of Tajwan holding the crab on the paper and was like, should we give Trey another shot, Mr. Krabs? And maybe that's where this episode was just actually an episode of SpongeBob. In the back of your mind. We had karate, we had Mr. Krabs, we had unrequited
jerk inflatable arms.
The jerk, yeah. We had a lot of horniness, which I associate with SpongeBob as well. But yeah, I thought, once again, Tajwana is like a perfect 10. She's hilarious. Everything she brings to the table this season, I've enjoyed. It made me a little bit nervous for Trey, but also Trey kind of fell down in my likability chart too, because of how much he brings Thomas into his mind. But overall, Tajwana is hilarious, and I want to see more of her. And I really like this scene. This was just very funny. But yeah. And kind of the last big thing that happened is the Natasha and Brendan arc there at the end.
I wanted to talk about this.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Natasha and Trey thing
Yep.
too. Please and thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, like, your comments on Trey, definitely annoying to see him, like, obsessed with the Thomas stuff. But, you know, I had my opinion lowered pretty decently on Tajwan here, too. With the way that she's just like, yeah, I'm only here for Riley. I think she had mentioned that to Trey before. And then, you know, she kind of just, like, storms off kind of in her Tajnado after Riley picks Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation, like, takes a while for them to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, well, she left him in a really awkward, weird spot where he doesn't even really know what's going on. And then, yeah, to be, like, asking the crab if she should give him another chance. Like, I think you need to hope that he's gonna give you another chance, because you just walked away as soon as this other dude walked in that you liked.
Trey seems very in the dark about the whole thing, quite honestly, too.
Yeah, and that's where, like, okay, this is feeling a little sketch. She had him apologizing to her.
Well, they didn't really communicate
the
very
way
well.
He reacted to her being into him. And I don't know that we really saw too much of him acting weird about it. He was just, like, confused and obviously, like, a little nervous and jealous about it, 'cause he could pick up on it.
I definitely feel like we didn't get a full storyline there, to be honest. I feel like that one seems very edited to me, and because even the way that they were talking in their one-on-one conversation about how they're not really communicating well together, I wonder if there was other things that kind of transpired that really kind of go unmentioned, because things just didn't seem to fit well in my mind with the way that their conversation had. So it's kind of like, well, we need to wrap this one in a bow and call it a day, because we're getting to the end of the episode.
I had the same feeling that we weren't getting the full picture, because it just, like, okay, they're having this conversation probably like 10 hours after Riley chose Marissa. Like, there had to be something else going on. There's no way that they just avoided each other on this beach for the whole day.
Yeah, I would doubt it, right? So, yeah, and I think that where I want to close out, Josh, is Natasha, Joe, and then Natasha Brendan, of course. So, Natasha and Joe have a brief conversation where she is kind of doubting herself. She goes, am I cute? Like, because I'm not really getting the affirmation or reassurance that I need from Brendan. And Joe and her are friends, I think, outside. Like, they host a podcast together too, and he's like, I don't know that he really helps her a whole lot kind of figure that out, but it's like, hey, you should probably talk to him. And
yeah,
which, I mean, it's good, right? Like, she needs to figure this out with Brendan. But honestly, every time I see Natasha and Brendan together, I lose a lot more faith in that relationship ever becoming a sustainable thing, right? So, because even, like, Brendan says these things, and they just seem like, I'm gonna give you just enough so that I'm not lying to you, but I'm not being completely honest with you about my feelings. Because this time he says, I'm starting to like you more and more each day. And I'm thinking, like, that at the surface level maybe sounds reassuring, but what does that mean? I'm starting to like you more and more each day. That's less than I'm starting to fall in love with you, that the bullshit line that all these people always say.
And I think
yeah, which is good. He says that.
Yet, which is
they hadn't made out.
Absolutely insane for this setting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
He felt very aloof to me here.
Yeah.
And it kind of just goes to my mind where I'm like, okay, he has to be waiting for Piper. There's no
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind too, because even Natasha was like, we aren't clicking right now. Like, and kudos to her.
A play to like try to stay on for the rose and everything. You'd think, yeah, like this week he'd at least be making it, putting more effort into it. And I think Natasha kind of says something along those lines, or it's like, she's got the rose, she has the power. He should be like trying to trick her or something here, and it doesn't even seem like he's putting in the effort for that. So she's like, Tasha's like, I know thing for sure, Brendan is not getting my rose.
Does she say that? I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure she said that.
Do you think she'll stick to that?
Yeah, I heard it in my mind, but yeah, I think she'll stick to that.
Okay.
You were talking about Conor, seeming like he was the odd man out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of wondering, maybe Conor ends up getting the rose from Natasha. Natasha wants to stick around, and Conor's a nice guy, so like they'll try it out.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that Natasha's gonna keep Conor.
Well, so this is kind of at the end of my list here. I guess we can transition to it.
Go ahead.
I'm like, is anyone else going to be introduced before they have a
rose ceremony?
Because right now, like, if
ceremony?
Natasha is ditching him, Brendan's out, and then I guess Yandra could stay with Carl still.
Sadness.
Otherwise, that Carl's gonna be the other person out. So it's like, it's got to be some connection somewhere.
Yeah, I think that.
Who knows what's going on with Thomas too? Like,
this is
what
I.
Other guys that are lower on the totem pole. Girls would be more than happy to at least like if Conor rose just to see like if anything could happen.
So my spoiler-free prediction is that Natasha still gives her rose to Brendan, and that Deandra gives her rose to Thomas, and that Conor and Carl go home. This is granted nobody else comes to the beach. If there's nobody new, I may change that if somebody else new comes, but if it's just the two of them, and we've got 12 guys and 10 women, I think Carl and Conor are the ones that are going to end up leaving. So I think that Thomas will pull something and try to steal Carl's girl. So.
I mean, that's fair. That's probably the easiest one to go. I'm sure Andrew doesn't have any issue jumping ship at this point from Carl, even if it is to Thomas. I don't know. It felt like Natasha wanted some sort of reassurance or something, even if it might not make best sustainable relationship. I feel like Conor will definitely give Natasha the affection and admiration that she wants now.
Yeah,
they definitely make out. So
I think I want happiness for both of them because I like Natasha and I like Conor here. But I think she's gonna stick with Brendan, honestly, right now. I don't really like what I'm seeing from Brendan over the last 2 episodes, really at all.
He's not been getting a good light here.
No, I really feel like he's just not. He's just kind of shouting everything in like, I'm going to give you enough to string you along, but I'm not going to give you any more so that I don't seem to myself that I'm being insincere. Like, I can't remember what he said on Monday we talked about, but yeah, really, I'm kind of stuck on the whole, like, I'm beginning to like you more and more each day, which is good. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like just absolute bullshit. To be fair, I don't know where Demi's rose is going to go either. I don't know that she's going to give it to James, so maybe she gives it to Thomas and Carl stays, and James goes home. So I hadn't really considered that, because I don't think she's really interested in him. So, but...
No. We didn't see anything from them at all this episode.
Yeah.
The only James we got was with Thomas.
Talking about Thomas.
That's all the Demi we got, too. Where she was just talking about how hot he was.
But... yeah, and that's kind of the episode, right, Josh? So, yeah, so...
We nailed it.
Yep, and, just to kind of circle back, because the one question that I think we left unresolved is, who would you see Conor with from Bachelor Nation? Demi is annoying. I agree. I kind of didn't speak very highly of her in the last episode either.
Check out our last episode.
Yeah,
our thoughts on Demi.
Yeah, Josh finds her incredibly attractive and is in love, but I think he.
Oh yes, that's exactly what I said.
he's holding out for, and I find her incredibly annoying. She's funny, certainly, but just something about her I don't vibe with. But yeah, so who do you see Conor with then? I guess who from Matt James's season, right? Because that would be kind of the... But most of them are on the beach right now, too. So, yeah,
I'm trying to think about people either from Matt or Pete's season, since they're...
Yeah, or Pete's season. Well,
in my mind.
I thought maybe that... I don't know... How tall is Kelsey and how tall is Conor, too? Not that... I think it would matter to one of them, not that it would matter to me. But they had an opportunity to kind of connect on the beach, but I think that they would have made a good couple, personally. So
yeah, with Kelsey's growth, I could see that as a possibility. It wasn't really anyone from...
Yeah, who else is left from Pete's season? I wouldn't put him with Victoria Fuller, because she, or Maddie, or Hannah Ann. Really, I don't think I really liked much of them. Yeah, and who was... Natasha was like 5th or whatever. I don't know that you really finish in a place on these shows, but...
She didn't kiss Peter until the night she was getting sent home.
Yeah, and... Man... All of Peter's women were, like, really kind of problematic, and a lot of the ones that I like are on the beach right now. So...
Yeah.
So that leaves Matt James's season.
I'm trying to think about people from Matt's season, and, I liked Serena, who's obviously there, but things seem to be going well with...
Yeah.
Like, they had a chance to talk, and it didn't go anywhere.
I think Conor and Michelle...
The other person I would think of from Matt's season is Katie. But obviously we saw that didn't work.
Would you be supportive if Conor ends up on Michelle's season of The Bachelorette?
Yeah, I would. They're both teachers. Yeah. So
I think they'd be a good couple.
Yeah, I don't know how much you saw of Michelle. Michelle was all right to me. Like, she isn't like someone that I'm super infatuated with, but she very easily feel very comfortable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a lot of young girls on Matt's season too.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that vibe is Conor's exactly.
Yeah, I think we would have
somebody who's more mature, and
we'd have to go over to Colton's season, I think, at this point, and think
himself.
of which of Colton's contestants are still single, because Tasha, Hannah G, Cassie, Katie, all the who was that one girl? Caitlin, Hannah Brown, all of them are in relationships still too.
Hannah B's still single, isn't
they
she?
After the final rose chick. Oh, that was so staged. So she was cute. She lives in Nashville. I wish them the best if they managed to rekindle the romance they found on a studio audience stage.
I believe she's dating another country singer.
Oh, awkward. Okay. Are her and Victoria P dating the same country singer? That's what I want to know. Gonna get awkward. But I need that tea. But yeah, Josh, I don't think I have anything else. Do you have any comments to close out the episode with?
No, I'm interested to see where we go. I expected another introduction or two to kind of stir things up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little bit of a change up, but nothing so catastrophic that like everybody's running around like a chicken with their head cut off trying to end somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Just really like some pretty isolated hits here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes too. Like I said, I think a lot of this episode I was just like, man, I feel bad for Conor. So we'll see kind of how this plays out. But as always, guys, thank you for coming. If you're interested, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. Just try to support the channel however you can. I was the Han Factor. I was joined today again by my good friend Josh Tasty Kebab. We're gonna say bye to you guys now, though, so thank you guys for coming. Bye now.
We'll be back next week with 2 more episodes.
Probably. So we'll see you guys then.